Guys, I am here with Justin and Emily Baldoni. We are talking all about relationships, how to build a strong relationship, how to do the work.
How to do life.
How to do life.
She drops a lot of wisdom bombs.
Also, Kevin's a part of this episode, but we couldn't fit him up here. And so the four of us have a really, really great, deep conversation you guys are going to love. Don't forget to subscribe.
We're best friends now.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Better Together. When you know better, you get better. That's our goal here every single day. Our quote for today, it's about waking up in the morning and saying, no matter what gets done and how much is done and how it's done, I'm worthy of belonging and love and joy. That's from the Queen, Brené Brown. I know you thought Kelsey, and you might have thought Pooja, but it's the other Queen.
Saying Queen.
Queen Brené. Welcome back, everybody. This is part 2 of our interview with Emily Baldoni and Justin Baldoni and Keven Undergaro. Hope you guys had fun with episode number 1. Episode number 2, we're talking about the invisible work of the partner that stays at home, how we need to celebrate it more, celebrating motherhood and seeing what it is, seeing it for what it is. We're going to talk about creating more balance in life, learning how to reward rest, and so much more, and how your worth is not based on your productivity or your job. Let's jump into this. Yeah, I do think that the conversation that you have been kind of championing around masculinity and what that looks like and what that is, and breaking that pattern is so important. I think you guys are, as a couple, really forging new kind of pathways for people, because, you know, when Keven and I were first kind of together, you know, it was hard for people to think that there could be a man behind the woman, that he was home taking care of the kids, the dogs, and all of that. And, you know, the gender roles are so specific about what's acceptable and what isn't. And no one would have ever known that I could never have done anything that I had done, not anything, but you know what I'm saying? Like the amount that I was able to accomplish in my career was only because I had another force behind me that was pushing me, massaging me, lifting me, carrying my lifeless body, driving me everywhere, doing all the invisible work. This is why I was so connected with everything you were saying, so that I could just be me, right?
Yeah, and chase your dream.
Exactly. And so, but that's not respected. And exactly the same conversations you were having. And I hate repeating things that were already in podcasts and stuff like that, but this was such an important conversation.
But you know, you have to hear things multiple times for it to resonate.
And you have to hear it, and the people who are listening to this have to hear this. It's like that conversation around, oh my God, you're so lucky to be married to Justin. How many times have I heard, Keven, you're so lucky, you're so lucky. And I'd be like, no, I'm the lucky one. Excuse me. I'm the lucky one.
There's a couple things that she doesn't like that are said a lot. That's one of them, and then the other one is happy wife, happy life. See, her body just like contorts.
Well, you're
when people
right.
say that. People say that all the time
because it's all about like, oh, we need to be like, you know, coddled or like there's
what the hell is that about?
Yeah,
I like that's not a happy life. If I'm always happy,
I'm trying to use it
None
myself,
of that is true.
but I because I'm the wife. I always am the corporate wife. So I'm like, wait, happy wife, happy life. And she just laughs in my face. It doesn't work in this house.
yeah, no, it doesn't work anywhere.
Yeah. But I think those are conversations that, you know, because Keven would joke with his guy friends' wives. He's like, he would collect them all. He's like, all right, let's get together and
go to wife camp.
And he's like, this is our job.
Bill
and this
Belichick,
is what we do
your job. Do your job. No, well, I mean, listen, when you have I was always lucky to have you, and I think I'm not as advanced as you guys. I'm taking notes here, as you can see, because I'm learning so much. But
that actually shows that you're even more so. I mean, the fact that you're taking notes.
Well, trying, you know. Well,
absolutely.
Especially Maria's shows just brought me 10 levels above. But I was going to say, like, I always say, like, we're a team.
Yeah.
And so I came up in team sports, and thank God I was never the star athlete, you know. But I also always knew being a role player. But I just was like, we're a team. And we had these wonderful neighbors. Our first house, little starter house in Van Nuys, Margie and Al, were an older couple
from Finland.
That didn't have children, and Al would go to work and Marie would go to work, and me and Margie were home and working on the houses. and we're next door neighbors having our coffee. And she taught me a lot. And she just was like, Kevin, Al's job's out there. My job's here.
Yeah.
So what goes on here is what I run. He runs his thing. Like, it was just a lot of stuff.
She was like, but she wasn't like, okay,
No. But it
wasn't a gender role thing. It was just, here are our jobs.
She was a badass.
She was a badass. She
Oh
was
my
tough.
God.
But
she made them a lot of money in real estate. And no, so with me, it was like Maria's job's to hold the mic. And that's a lot of, that mic is very heavy.
Yeah.
And everything else is on me. I got it. And so that's what Margie had taught me, along with so many other things. She was great when she saw us I was doing stuff in the backyard. I'm going to put a gym here. And she kind of like,
I love that.
She stepped back a little bit, and I said, "What's the matter?" She goes, me and Al, we're just worried about you kids because we want to see you leave some stuff for later. Don't have it all now. Like, she taught us that too.
Yeah.
But I was always proud, and I still am, is I do my job. And that's why we have what we have here. That's why we've been successful.
That's so
hard thing to get
beautiful.
to.
It's that's so beautiful. And I wish that, what we talked about in the podcast, me and Justin at the Men Enough podcast, is that especially as a woman and a mother, what made it so hard for me to feel like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing at that time.
And you chose it because you have a whole career. You wanted to be home with your babies.
I wanted to be home with my babies, and I knew that's where I wanted to be at that time. And there's this lack of, especially for new mothers, they are not celebrated. Mm-hmm. They are not respected. Because if we were, there would be policies being created, there would be networks being created, society would be built around the mother and the child and families. But this society in this country is not built for families. No. And I remember being a Swede coming here, it was so evident that this country it was like it proud itself. Speaking of being foreigner, pride itself on being pride.
Greek was my first language. So
I
want to hear this.
I know what I mean.
I know what you mean. I want to hear what you're saying.
Yeah, clearly English is my first and fourth language.
Don't give me the grammar test.
I lose words all the time, and then I have to make them up. But you guys are with me.
I'm with you.
It's like if we celebrate the family, the American family, right? And then when I came here and I moved here, I realized that families are actually not supported at all.
Yeah.
At all. And if you are the parent that stays home with the kids, forget about it. You are unseen. You are invisible. You don't matter. Mm-hmm. And yet there you are raising the future generation of this country. Mm-hmm. And why I struggled so much was, Justin got to be out there and pursue his dream and be around adults. Yes, while I was doing laundry, taking care of poopy diapers, and I felt really sorry for myself. But it was this thing that happened when we were out and about, even with friends, or if it was some sort of work event. We would stand together in a group, and people literally did not look me in the eyes. Mm-hmm. They were not curious about hearing any of my thoughts. Mm-hmm. Whatever subject we were talking about,
we see this all
the
time.
Eyes were on Justin. Yeah. And I can understand why, because, people know who he is. They know his work. Yeah. They care about what he thinks and what he feels and what he does. I get that. But to not even address the person standing next to him, who is most likely a force in his life, who makes all of his work possible, like you said, Maria, there's just when you're not seen, when you are not celebrated for the work that you do, it just really hurts.
Talk about a vacuum sucking everything out. Kevin used to call himself the human coat hanger.
Or the lampshade.
Or the lampshade.
I was the lampshade.
He was like,
or the
put my arms up so you can hang your coats on me.
Just hang your coats on me. I'll sit here.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you guys don't exist because here's the thing. It's like there's a connection people already have with us. So they're in.
Yeah.
And you guys are just
it's easier for me as a guy because I don't need a lot of that, and I would just be like, whatever, I'm going home to watch Netflix.
Right, and then people wondered why Kevin never wanted to go to events, why he's completely absent from the picture.
I'm good.
Yeah.
And I would
I'll
go
watch
by
it on
myself.
TV.
Yeah.
Because I was like, he doesn't want to. He'd rather be at home on the recliner with the dogs.
But we see a lot of
Yes.
Genuinely,
we
like,
see a lot of
actually.
wives and mothers that when we go out to dinner with them, we can tell. Maria clued me in on this.
Yep.
You can tell they're losing their minds because of that.
Yeah.
Because they're not seen,
Yeah.
they're not heard,
Well,
they're with children,
imagine
babies
your
all
whole day
Yeah.
is goo goo gaga, wipe ass, clean this, clean
Yeah.
that. Then you get dressed and you feel like a human again, and no one's treating you like a human
No
again.
one cares. No one cares. And also the fact that I just feel that I would just love to see. I work so much with mothers, so I talk a lot about motherhood. Fatherhood is also insanely important. But I feel like motherhood is not celebrated.
Yeah.
What mothers hold just in, raising little kids and deciding on vaccinations and schools and how do we even want to raise this kid and do we do timeouts or not? The world is so big. It's so large in figuring out how to raise little kids.
Human beings.
And it's like
It's a huge job.
Nobody cares about it. It's like we're just supposed to know how to do it without a manual, and then we do the work, and there's no elevating and celebrating these mothers, right? And like I said before, society is not built for families. So I just feel like there's just a big gaping hole there that we need to fix now.
Yeah, are we built more for youth in pop culture, do you think, this country?
And money.
And make money. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because
Centered around
all
youth
about-
and money, right?
What
Yeah.
would the world look like? I mean, we can all answer that question. What would the world look like if mothers were celebrated for what they
Supported.
do? If mothers were
supported. I mean,
supported, if mothers were,
Oh my
if,
God, we have
if
better kids, everything.
if
mean-
teachers and
Right.
and these professions that we
have no respect for.
have no respect for, in some ways look down on, because who wants that, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to be a preschool teacher? Like, you make $30,000 a year. When in
Yeah.
when we're look at what's celebrated in our country.
Yeah.
What would the world look like if it was reversed in some way? And
Would Kelsey
Mental-
lose all her TikTok stars?
Come on.
Wait a second, Kels.
Yes, Kevin.
I feel terrible. Like, in this world, I feel like your TikTok stars wouldn't be as
I
celebrated.
know. What a bummer for them.
Thank God it's never going to happen.
I can't.
It's hard, and that's and women. That's the other thing that a lot of people don't talk about that I think is so important. Like, we literally have to do everything, right? Unless you have men in your life who are
You still do everything,
comfortable-
Maria, though. You never stop.
Yeah.
No, you still, no matter what I do to support, I can't, what he does, it's still like,
But
there's
you
just
did
so
just
much
schedule
more.
your own dentist appointment.
It's a big deal for
recently.
me. It was a big
because
deal.
we've been
Wow.
talking about this so
Congrats,
much.
Kevin.
Kevin.
We've been talking about this so
Thank
much,
you.
and literally
I
women are
received
dying.
that.
They're committing suicide. The anxiety rates are wholly like off the
Oh,
chart for women.
God.
And you wonder why we're ticking time bombs. It's because we have to do everything and be everything, and no one sees it. No one understands it. You guys, unfortunately, for the most part, roll out of bed, don't have to do, we have to figure out, how do we contour? Oh, we need eyelash extensions now because you're not hot this time around if you're not wearing, eyelash extensions. Oh, man, you got to get the hair, you got to do this, you got to get the color, you got to get the wax, you got to do all these friggin' things just to be a modern woman, right? And you got to like spin all these plates and be perfect at all these things, and everything's amazing. And you guys just get to roll out of bed, go do your job. You can wear a shitty, dirty shirt and jeans, doesn't matter. When Beyonce goes on stage, she has to flip how many outfits? 5, 6 outfits? Ed Sheeran can show up in a dirty shirt and jeans, and they love him. We've got to do cartwheels and
Yeah,
handstands.
it's
and
not just
spins.
Hollywood, obviously. It's real life, too.
Well, I'm giving
that's
multiple
extreme
examples.
examples.
then you
but-
take it even deeper,
and we
you-
wonder why we're dying.
and you take
Yeah.
it even deeper, and you go and look at marriages and why marriages fall apart, and all the men that cheat, and on top of holding the world, on top of raising kids, you then gotta be ready and want to have sex when your husband wants it, and be sexy for him, and all of those types of things, and you just
Right.
you wonder why everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
And then we're also not supposed to complain either.
Oh,
like
no.
talking about our pain, talking about our suffering, that's not okay, because we need to show up as if we have it all together. And we see on Instagram, we show our perfect lives. You just don't talk. And again, as mothers, I come across so many mothers that are really struggling because their kid is sick or whatever it might be. And they feel like, oh, but I shouldn't be complaining.
Oh,
I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
no, they're ashamed to complain.
Because I have a child and we're okay. I shouldn't be talking about my pain. I shouldn't be talking about my pain, because there are people that have it worse. And of course, people have it worse. And that's a really important perspective to have in life, that there are people that are literally suffering and starving and they're just like fighting to survive. Yes. And we do need to show up for those people. But that doesn't mean that you can't talk about your own struggles and have your own suffering. Because if I just allow that to happen somewhere underneath the surface, then I'm just going to like fall into the ocean and drown.
You're going to get cancer.
Then of course, you're going to get
all
sick.
these diseases are coming from
autoimmune
somewhere. Why
diseases,
are women getting so sick?
The body keeps the score.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. When I say he's learning, hearing me say this just as of late so much, he internalized and he was like, I have to schedule a dentist appointment. I don't want you to do it, but I don't remember his name. What's his name?
Because normally I wouldn't just go to. I just don't go to the doctor. I say, whatever, my body will heal itself.
Yeah, and then what do?
And
We
that
realize
just stresses her out.
we need him,
Yeah.
right? I can't lose him, so then I have to go do that on top of everything else. So I think these conversations are so important to make people aware of like what's really going on behind the scenes, because you know, if your husband's the one who's often working, or even if you're just on two different schedules, you're not going to know everything that we did. He watches me and he has to tell me sometimes. I actually got to a place where with my mom and my dad, because I was taking care of them as well, and I felt like I wasn't doing enough because I'm a sicko. I actually got one of those little time clock apps so I could clock in every time I did things for them. All the doctor's appointments, all the research to keep my mom alive, all the things that I had to do. And I was looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, this is like full-time job level. And I'm like, I think now I understand. I'm doing more than enough. Yeah, I'm good. But I didn't think I was doing enough then.
Of course not.
Well, it never feels like enough when the wound is there and it's a Band-Aid, right? It's like, what are we doing things from? And that's where, like, that's the thing we don't really check in with a lot, is where is that coming from? Is it coming from like codependent duty to like take care of them? Or is it coming from, I just love them and I want to take care of them? And sometimes
could be both.
And sometimes it's both, sometimes it's one or the other. And then when you can finally get it to the love part, then even a little feels like enough.
Right. It's the extreme that's the codependent part.
It's the extreme, because for me, it's like we always talk about enough. This idea of enough. That's why I called it man enough. But like enough. What is enough? How much was enough to take care of mom? What's enough money that we should be able to make or that we need?
Yep.
You know, what is enough time with my kids? What is enough time together? Right. And we have this idea that there is a number, but that means it's just coming from this place. Well, there's never.
And you'll never reach it.
It's never going to be enough.
But it's also coming from a judgmental place, right?
Yeah,
Who
of course.
says it's supposed to be this many hours? Right. Who says it's supposed to be whatever? It's really what you decide is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh,
And how do you know that if you don't know yourself?
that's what it comes down
This
to.
is all very overwhelming.
I find too.
Because think about it, like you're coming into a relationship with all your stuff. He comes into a relationship with all his stuff. Now you're trying to forge this union, and
But everyone has stuff.
I know.
But the reward
That's why
is
we're
so
here, right?
worth it. The reward is so worth it. I mean,
True.
It doesn't feel like it in certain moments, but like I remember a fight that Emily and I had where we didn't practice consultation, and eventually we did. But it was months after we shot the podcast, and we both learned a lot from each other, because it was literally about because we often fell into this almost like ranking of who's tired, who's more tired.
That's a big one in relationships. Yes.
So good.
No, I'm more tired. I've worked harder today.
And it was like this ranking, and we found ourselves there a lot because she's exhausted and I'm exhausted, and we didn't hold space for each other, and it was through enough of these conversations, and finally we had like one light bulb conversation because I had also realized, like, you know, sure, as a feminist, there was a lot of times where I was just almost pro women and completely ignoring the individual man that I am and the burden that I carry in this patriarchy and how I'm suffering from this thing that I'm actually perpetuating. So while it looks like I'm winning, while it looks like everyone's adoring me and I'm getting all these accolades, I'm secretly suffering because I actually don't even know if I want to be doing it.
Oh my God.
Because it's coming from a trauma response to be loved and adored and enough.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel that way as a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I remember us having this conversation, and I shared, and I had never shared it because I was embarrassed about it. And it was like her being willing to listen to that side of it. Me being willing to be like, yes. And being a mom is so much harder because sometimes after 20 minutes, I want to freaking like, I can't, I fall asleep with my kids, you know, as a dad, I'm with my kids and I'm like, I'm so tired. Let's play the game again. And I feel like a terrible dad. And, you know, and we're sitting here having these conversations and it takes us both listening to each other and realizing like, wow, wait a second. Could we both be suffering?
Yeah.
Could we both be right?
Both be tired.
Oof,
Could we
write
both
that
be
down.
allowed to be tired?
Yeah.
Could this system not be working for both of us? Can we both do better
That was
in some
a big
ways?
one for me because I think I saw myself as such a victim of the patriarchy. And when we had that fight, then later turned into a conversation, I think it was for that was like the first time that I really realized how you are hurt by the system. Because it was so easy for me to see,
obvious
you
to see
get
the
to
other
go
way.
out and be with the adults and pursue your dream. And you get to do all these things while I'm here doing stuff that is really hard, that has
Suffering.
no manual. And I'm like in my suffering.
Yeah.
Not really being willing to see just what it looked like on the other side. That to him, I was like, oh, you get to stay home with our babies. You get to be there for the first step, for the first day. You get to
Yep.
do all these things.
And then you
he's
getting
like,
him.
And he's like, if you could only understand like the pressure that I feel and I need to provide and I need to show up and be this person for everybody and I have to hold everything and I have to carry and I have to push and I have to achieve and I have to produce and I have to like that hamster wheel that he was in. I was just really grateful to have an opportunity to really see that for the first time.
So then how do you fix that when you're there? And now you see that
That's what we've
you're
been
both
doing for the
you
last
getting.
year. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is to really just try to remember that and constantly show up for each other and allow both of us to be so goddamn tired at the same time. And then step by step, figure out how can we show up for each other? How can we create more balance? How can we create more balance for me, for you, for us together? What do the kids need? How do we create balance for them?
Asking ourselves what is enough
And like, yeah, what is enough?
has
And
been huge.
Has there been
what
like a
do we want?
redefinition of success, perhaps?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm somebody who felt like I was both too much and not enough. And it created a very unique drive stemming from not being enough to be seen, to be valued, to be loved, all rooted in the external. It was all rooted in external validation and success with extremely deep fears, you know, around having enough and being able to provide, right? Being told what a man was, all of these types of things. And then seeing how the world recognizes men and wanting to be enough and wanting to be seen and valued as a man and thinking that I had a job as a man to provide, to create, thinking that I had that I had married somebody who needed more, right? I was like, but I want to get you what she has and we have a big enough house, big enough this. And I would oftentimes find myself just completely lost in a hamster wheel, just creating and creating and creating, never celebrating any victories or successes. Because there's no time to celebrate because there's 5 other things coming.
Yep. We've been there.
And I reached a point where it was almost like everything that I was touching was working. And I was like, well, I have to do more. because that's what the brain tells you in a system like this.
But the world tells us that more is what we're supposed to be after.
Well, of course, and the world profits off of us, off of us grinding ourselves.
That's stress.
And creating this. So it came down to like asking ourselves, well, what does enough look like? What do we actually need? Where's the scarcity coming from? Where's the fear that I have coming from? If I actually want to be with my children, why am I finding all these ways not to be? And then you go deeper and you go deeper and you go deeper. And then you realize like, oh, wait a second, something happened when I was a child. Why do I have a hard time playing with my kid? Was I not played with enough? And then you go deep into that work. And then you think about, well, why am I creating? Why am I not resting? Why do I not sleep? Why am I on my phone before? And you can do this forever. But what it comes down to is it's the willingness to self-reflect. The willingness to say like, okay, what's my side of it? I now know that I am addicted to work maybe, or I'm addicted to this, or addicted to success, or whatever that is. What am I running from? I need to go in. And this is where therapy and for me, like somatic therapy and deep work comes in, where I'm like, let me go deep into what is the wound that's causing me to distract myself. That's my work. Then I have to bring it to Emily. Emily has shared with me her work. This is how she feels. This is why she doesn't feel enough. This is all the stuff that I'm doing that makes her feel a certain way. And then when the two of us come together and I can share my pain that I'm creating for myself, but I'm still giving it to her, and she shares hers, there's this light bulb moment that happens where you can never unsee it. So from that point on, there is no ranking of who's more tired. There's an appreciation and understanding of what each of us individually had to go out in the world to do that day for us, for the collective us, for our sports team, if you will. And then it's like, okay, let me fill in the gaps. Oh my God, she's so tired from this. Let me jump into that. And then it's almost like a good sports team, right? You just know that there's a no-look pass there because he's open, and you don't even have to know. You just intuitively know that the person's open. Well, it's the same thing with our marriage now. I can go, oh, I know that she needs this. And sometimes, of course, she still asks me because I'm in my world. But that's like the empathy machine that can happen when two people are doing this work that know their own selves enough to come together and be like, all right, let's figure this out. And oftentimes before we were just like yelling at each other, and nobody hears the other person when you're yelling at each other, when you're comparing who's tired. Well, I did this all day and I'm trying to provide, but I'm with my kid, I'm with the kids, and the kids are so fucking annoying, or whatever that is. Nobody hears the other person. There's no space. And then you're supposed to let go and make love later? No.
Yeah.
That's not what intimacy is built on.
Yeah.
Intimacy is built on communication, trust, and safety. And that's how you make another person feel safe. That's how I've never felt more safe in my entire life, which is why when we started the podcast, I said, wow, like I can't even believe that I have you. Because I can't, because that wasn't what marriage was to me growing up. That wasn't what I saw on TV, in the news, in movies and magazines. This is what it is. It's work. It's safety. That's what love looks like.
Yeah. Well, because also the thing is when you know that you guys are being honest with each other and that you're putting in the work, you never have to be afraid that someone's going to run. Because they're running to you and working with you. They're not running away from it. And that's where the fears really come into play, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah, there's like a deep, I mean, you've said this, but there's like this deep, deep knowing. And by the way, there are still parts of my brain that I have to remind myself that I'm safe with Emily because of my trauma, because of what I've been through. And there's times when I'm like, promise me you're never going to leave me, right? Where it's like sweet, but there's there's like little Justin just needs a little something right now.
Yeah.
We're telling you, don't.
But the deeper part of me, the part of me that's healing and is healed, has never felt more safe with a woman in my entire life. And that influences every single action I take in a day.
And that's also because you're safer with yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's where it starts.
Yeah.
You're safer you are finally a safe space for yourself, which is why you can even create a relationship like this together with me where I can also be safe for you. But none of that can come to you if you're not safe with yourself. That's where it always starts.
Yeah.
It has to start here. Yeah.
Drop the mic. Yeah, I think understanding each other is a really big thing, because I know that even just recently, Kevin's like, I can't rest here. I need to go somewhere. There's too many distractions. But he didn't understand it when I used to say, because he's like, why do you need to go away? He's like, this house is a vacation. It's like beautiful property. And I'm like, I can't rest here. I'm like feeling like I'm being electrocuted. Mm-hmm. And now he sees it. But he had to get to that place for himself to understand, but it's hard to really understand all of that. And most of us don't have enough time to talk and to explain it. And when I see you guys saying you're both coming in exhausted, which we very much understand, that's when you realize, okay, is working that hard important enough to put ourselves in that kind of scenario and then that environment, right? Is that extra bag you're going to buy her that's going to make her feel great worth it? Because if you asked her, I think she would rather have a calmer life, because that's really what we all want, is to breathe. And none of us are really able to breathe because we're all workaholics. Right. Well, this person's doing all of this. I remember vividly being in the hospital recovering from surgery. And I remember when I was, at some point able to communicate, I looked at Keven and I'm like, oh my God, I am so repelled by that rat race of just having to do everything.
You had a wake up moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there were so many people that I looked to as my guideposts. I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And guess what? We all can. We can do anything we put our mind to. And so I was, doing it all totally against my nature, exhausting myself to no end. And I remember saying to him, like, oh no, this is not the life that I want. This is too much. And I wasn't happy living in my own body the way I was. Imagine what kind of partner I am when I'm just revving like that all the time. And for what? To have more cars? To have more things?
Emily talks about this beautifully. I love how you talk about that's the system and
well, you just said it.
Women, yeah.
But I think a lot of people, but especially a lot of women, are waking up to that right now. Back to the patriarchy. We've been so conditioned and trained to be achievers, to produce, to be able to do things, and that you can put it on a piece of paper and say, I did this. Look at all that I've accomplished. And for many of us, that is actually what we're here to do. That is our pace, that's our rhythm, that's where we thrive. Fantastic, because we need those people, the builders, right? But I think so many of us, me very much, I'm just slow. That is my rhythm, slow. I love to be able to, and what a privileged life that I have that I can say this, but I love to witness the sunset every day. And I feel very blessed that I can even do that, because there are a lot of people that can't. But if you have the ability to do it, and that's what you're drawn to, why don't we stop to do it? Or to step outside and watch the moon at night, or go for that walk, or just slow the pace down during the day so that you feel like there is time to breathe. There is time to be truly, authentically inspired by something. There is time to reflect on yourself and on life. If that's your pace, then you should absolutely be able to do that. And that's okay. And that's actually the gift that you have to give to this world. Not all of us are here to just hustle. And I think a lot of us believe that unless you hustle, you're unworthy. You shouldn't even be here. You're taking up valuable space. Go do something. No. But there is such wisdom in doing nothing and just being, at least in moments, because I can only really speak for myself, but that's where I receive inspiration and wisdom. And that's where I feel aligned with my purpose. But I have to slow down so much to get to that place. So I've struggled a lot being a co-founder of a company, and where you do have to hustle to keep that baby, that company alive. And yet then how do you find the balance? And you also want to be a mom, you want to be this and then that. And it's just really hard in our world today to find a slower pace and still somehow staying on the surface.
Yeah. That's why we all want to move to Italy.
That's why we should all move to Italy.
And live in Tuscany.
Siestas.
And then friends who do that, they're like, the fucking Wi-Fi doesn't work. And you're like, oh, that would be tough.
Yep.
That one, I don't know if I can do.
I think minimalizing really helps in separating from attachments.
Yeah.
So true. And I think we need to get really good at like expanding, contracting. Expanding,
I like
contracting.
that.
And then knowing that, that's how we birth, that's how we breathe, that's how we are alive. Everything happens. I love the notes being taken right now.
I love Kevin.
But it's like, that's what breath is. That's what life is. Everything expands and contracts. That's actually how we grow. That's how a child grows. So we can have seasons of expansion. And then we just have to remember it's now time to contract.
So it's a mindset, I think, of
and
knowing.
digest. Right.
Say, okay, rest and digest.
You have to have time to rest and digest, or digest and rest, whatever order you want to do it. And then you're ready to expand again. But you can do it from a place where your well is full. You're ready to seize that opportunity. You're ready to show up for people and for yourself. You have real energy to do that expansion. And then you come back to contraction again. Whatever that looks like. For some people, it's enough with a nap. Other people, they need a weekend away. Other people need to move to Italy for a few months. You just need to learn what that is for you. But we can't constantly expand, because we will burst. We will get sick.
But we have to learn how to reward the rest.
Right.
Until we change our frame of reference, right? We're looking like we're gazing at this whole thing via the lens of like productivity is the most important thing. Productivity gives ourselves value.
Yep.
So the gaze has to shift, right? Honestly, probably, forget about masculine, feminine, but in this case, maybe a more feminine gaze in that sense, which is, okay, well, resting allows me to be productive.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me rest.
Well, even more productive.
Well, we know,
All your
it's like
best ideas, your breakthroughs,
everything comes in that.
your body gets recharged.
But when even meditating, right? You pull the arrow back so that you can fire it forward. Meditating, just as an example, is something that we do. We stop. We're still. Ideally, we try to quiet our thoughts. And everything. It's so hard for so many of us because it's the antithesis of what we were raised to do. But in fact, doing that moment of doing nothing allows us to be able to do something. And that was the biggest thing that I got out of my deep therapy work was this revelation of like doing nothing. Do nothing. 2 words that you don't expect together. But when you think about it as a verb, it's so important and it can change your entire life because doing nothing is looked so down on. It's like we don't have value if we do nothing. But what if we looked at it and gave ourselves like in our own minds, like a reward for it, a cookie, a Pavlovian response to doing nothing every once in a while so that we could actually rest. Until we start to shift that gaze, we're never going to do it.
Yeah.
Because we're always going to find something more important, something that needs to be done. And I'm speaking for myself in first person here, because that's been one of my greatest challenges, which is why I like being married to a woman who wants to go stop on a walk and smell the flowers.
That's weird.
Smell the roses. I'm married to
You gotta
the
come with me
woman
on my
that
hike.
smells the roses.
I go on a hike right up here, and all of the neighbors have the old rose bushes that still smell. So I go on sniffing tours, and Kevin will see me. He'll be walking and like, look at this psycho. And I'm hopping from across the street to across the street, trespassing on lawns. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Oh my God, thank you God so much. And I'm literally, I feel like I won $1 million with every rose I sniff.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's everything to me.
And I've had to actually retrain my mind that a walk is not for exercise. A hike is not to burn calories.
No, it's for your soul.
It's for your soul. I'm like, just yesterday, I'm starting to go on. That's why we moved to the country. Like to slow down, to learn how to do nothing, to learn how to like reward ourselves in that way. Because then it's like resting and digesting becomes, I get my ideas there, but I don't have to do them all.
Right.
which is my next challenge. I don't have to do everything that
That's a
comes
big
to
one.
me.
Yes, I know. That's a
Like, oh God, it only came to me. No, ideas come to everybody. That's why you get to see 7 of the same movies come out at the same
Oh
time.
my God, stop it. I love that.
It's like we have this like this hyper individualistic, like we're the savior,
We're so
almost like we have.
genius.
Oh my God, it came to me. I have to do it. No, there was multiple inventions of the light bulb at the same time. It wasn't like
or if someone else did it, you're like, that was my idea.
Right.
I should have done it. It's like, no, like 50,000 other people thought the same
because
thing. They
we
just
reward
executed
value.
it.
That's where we see value.
Yeah.
So anyway, all that being said, like she's really taught me how to slow down and understand, like, oh, life is about the moments in between, right? The wave, the in and the out. If we're only exhaling, we die.
Yeah.
Right? Everything comes in waves. We need that. And it wasn't something I thought about 6-7 years ago.
Oh my God.
Ever.
I know. We
And
were doing our grateful list last night. I'm like, I'm grateful for being able to see the sunset tonight. It was so beautiful and the weather was so perfect outside. Remember? It's the best. You have to take those in between moments.
Yeah.
But
But they're not rewarded here.
yeah.
And you know what we do now? Because of what we've created, those in-between moments become Instagram moments.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They become social media moments.
Yeah.
So now and we wonder why we're so exhausted collectively, even as a society, when we take a moment to pause, we have to document it.
Yeah, I went live. I did. For the first 5 minutes of it, I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing.
And that's the part of our brain.
Because I had to feed my algorithm.
You have to feed the algorithm. Why? Because you're feeding the beast, because we're constantly moving towards something that we think is going to make us happier or more successful. Or more. So even in our rest, picture or this or this, and then that defeats the purpose of it.
Yeah. Well, what's great about what you guys did moving out where you did is you're away from the electric grid, right? When I went forest bathing. Have you guys ever gone forest bathing?
They don't need to. They live in the.
Well,
We've similar, not like officially
Sort
forest
of.
bathing, but we've called it kind of forest bathing.
okay. Well, I did it, and I remember when we were coming back, to done with the whole event thing, and I saw the LA city skyline, and I felt like I was being electrocuted.
That's how it feels every time we come in LA.
I was like, no wonder we're all anxiety ridden and suffering, and just all of that excitement is just too much to live in all the time. So I think unplugging from it is great. And to your point about what everyone values in terms of productivity, one of the things that I've struggled with after brain surgery is when people are like, so what are you doing nowadays? Because I'm not on TV every day. And I'm like, I just always answer, because I don't want anyone to tie my value anymore to what I do.
Yeah.
And that's been an interesting experiment with people, because I'll say to him, I'm like, well, what should I say? Should I say something? Because I don't.
You've said that a lot.
I don't want to have to say anything, because I don't want you to think I'm either important or not important based on what I say. I just want to be whatever I'm supposed to be. And if you belong around me, then you belong around me. But it's an interesting thing to see how, if you do pause, say you need a recharge, say you need a couple years break, or you need something, how the people react.
They get uncomfortable.
What did you say? I remember us having a conversation specifically about this.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot.
A lot. Because it was before Amma. So Emily has this amazing company called Amma, where she's really doing incredible things with women and new mothers and breastfeeding moms. But before Amma, it was people would always ask you, what are you doing? And you really struggled with that for a bit.
Yeah, because I knew I didn't have the right answer for people.
As if being a mother wasn't enough.
Yep.
But that was always their reaction. They would have no follow-up question if I just said, I'm a mama right now. I put everything else on the shelf. Oh, okay. And then they would just start looking for the next person to talk
Deeply
to.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you only knew how cool I am because I'm a mom and because I do nothing right now. The things that I've learned about patience and creation.
Well, do nothing. I mean, it's not like you stop moving when we're with the kids.
It's just not interesting. It's just not interesting to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I love that. Just the feeling of why do I need to give you that? Why? What are you going to do with that information?
Zero interest. Well, because
compartment are you going to
decide whether they're going to get closer to you or not?
Even before, it never mattered to me anyway.
Right.
I never, first of all, whenever I've met anyone in town, I never know what they do. I never introduce myself with a last name. I'm like, I always tell Kevin, I'm like, should I be like saying, oh, I'm Maria Menounos and like give a firm hint? Like, am I supposed to do what these other people do? But I'm like, hi, I'm Maria. And I don't try to find out what they do. I don't care.
Yeah.
I will never remember even if you tell me, because I'm not looking at anybody like that. And so that kind of shift after surgery, where I was kind of like redefining everything in my life. And I'm like, I don't want to have to like come up with my laundry list of stuff. Yeah, I've got stuff going on, but I don't need to tell you what's going on for me to feel good or for me to satisfy you to think that I'm worthy of the conversation. Because I really have no interest if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, growing up, I moved to LA. I mean, I was born in LA and then lived here till I was 10 and then came back when I was 18. But I remember I had it's like deep in my body, this feeling of people asking me what I was doing or what I was working on and never feeling enough, no matter where I was in LA.
Right.
No matter who I was around, there was always somebody doing more and I just always felt like my acting credits weren't enough. If I wasn't booking or if I wasn't testing for something in my early 20s, everything was just about that success. And then, you can translate that to any career when you're just starting out. Being embarrassed of myself.
But you're never going to be
I
enough.
was.
That's the point.
And I was never going to be enough.
No.
I never was.
Can't win.
But the moments where when I did have success, especially early on, and I would start to share those things, I would leave the conversation and feel terrible about myself. It's the same thing. I'd be like, yeah, I'm, series regular on Everwood, this was 18, 17 years ago, which I, got basically fired from eventually, because I was replaced at the end of it. But I'd be like, hey, yeah, I'm a series regular on this. And I would leave the conversation.
You feel dirty.
Feeling
feel gross.
terrible.
Yeah.
Like vomiting. Like, am I that insecure that I need to share, that my value is based on what I'm doing? And it took years for me to get to, where you are, to realize, wait a second. I just want to be liked.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're going to be a little more interested in me because of my career makes me feel like I'm enough. And that's what it is. Oh, I don't need to share it.
Mm-hmm.
How do I like myself? How do I like myself first? And that's like a forever journey for me. Thank God you're there, Maria.
Well,
but
I think none of this really ever mattered to me. It mattered to me because I wanted to make it. I had dreams and stuff, but a lot of it was also I wanted to give my parents a better life and I wanted all that stuff.
You just liked having fun.
And I love having fun. Yeah, I get emotional.
That's what it came down. It's
course.
having fun, and primarily you want to take care of your parents. And then after that, it was fun. And then also, like I've said to you, Maria, is you have to be empathetic to other people in our business because you were hosting Entertainment Tonight at 23. No one still, that's never been done, probably never be done again. And then today's show. And you know what I mean? You made it so young. I mean, not like a child star, but you still, you hit the scene really fast and furious. So any of those parts that needed to be fulfilled were fulfilled so young that after that it was
Yeah. Well, and life also hits and really realigns you to see what's really important. Because at the end of the day, what these people think of us means zero. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what he thinks of me and I think of me and how our life is together. Because if you're living your life for everybody else, that's an exhausting venture. And if you're living it to look valuable to other people and all of that stuff, like I said, I had my moment and I'm like, I'm done. Goodbye. I was in a rat race I never really wanted to be in. None of this stuff matters to me. These people actually need all of this.
Yeah.
I have had fun with it, but it doesn't really define me. I could be cleaning up animal poop at a sanctuary and be very happy because I love animals. Yeah. My friend on my pack life on Discovery, I'm obsessed with.
Emily and I talk about that a lot. Getting to the place where none of this matters and we could be happy doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter.
Because it doesn't.
Well, you know what? Maybe it's amended to you love acting and storytelling and just leave it at that. And you can do that wherever you want. You can do it at local theater. We could take our iPhones right now, the four of us, give us literally by the end of the day, we'll have a 90-minute talk on something. No, but I mean it.
So
it's
true.
just really embracing that and not the outcome of that. Not like, okay, so it didn't get picked up by Netflix, or it wasn't the number one this or the number one that, or I'm not hosting this, or I'm not starring in this. But I'm creating really cool stuff that I love, or I'm working with my children, which I love, or building my company, which I love.
We're making impact.
And if my whole thing is like, if you could just make a living, you won. Do you know what I mean? Like, and what is that living? Like 21st century standards of not it has to be the multiple houses, the multiple cars, the private jets, all that stuff. But it's like, if you just get up every day, because I don't know about you guys, but my parents did stuff they hated. Like most of our parents did. So just to be
Most people do.
Most people. So just to be able to do what you love, and if you could just make a modest salary, and I've always kept my mind. I had an old boxer, Marvin Hagler, way before your time. He just died. He was a great middleweight fighter, and I bumped into him in Boston one time. Oh my God, I'm a huge fan. And I'm like, wait, and this is a guy with Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, like legend. And
Those are all boxers, my love.
Thank you.
American boxers. But like right there with Ali, but he's at this bar with his girlfriend just dancing at the dance floor of some mid-level bar. And I'm like, Mr. Hagler, I'm just a big fan. Oh, he's very nice. Oh, thank you. Very pleasant. And he said, what? Because he knew. I was like, well, where is everybody? I'm like, because I just know, like, all these other guys, they have entourages and bodyguards. And he just said, well, first of all, he said, Marvin Hagler, I'm a fighter. I don't need anyone to protect me. He said, number one. Number two, he said, when you have all that stuff around you, then you need all that stuff. He's like, that stuff's going to go away. He's like, I'm not going to be champ forever. It's going to go away. And then I'm going to be disappointed. He says, so I just keep it, as regular, as modest as I can. And that always stayed with me. So you said that to me the other day, like, you're just happy with your pickup truck and your recliner.
He is.
But that's actually
power.
But that's true happiness.
Yes.
It starts with contentment.
So when you just say
And a recliner.
So, right. Well, no, I'm just saying, if you can lower all of those things in your brain and bring it down to, this is the minimal I need to be happy, then it's like, well, what fills my cup every day? Making art, being with the kids, building a company, great. And if we can just feed ourselves off that, bye everyone, and great. If it's a huge hit, more power to everybody. If it's an Oscar winner, great. But at the end of the day, one of the blessings of the pandemic, the 21st century, is the collapse of everything around us in business and especially in Hollywood. That what does it really matter anyway? It's the business we all came up with, Justin and Maria, and it's over. It's done. I just have I'm in awe every day at the people that I don't know that have 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40 million followers on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. People I have no idea. I know who The Rock is. I know who Justin is. I know who Maria is. I don't know these people, but guess what? So
it's a different game.
It almost makes no sense anymore, which has made it wonderful for us. Because it makes no sense anymore to follow the 20th century business plan, at least in Hollywood. It makes no sense. You're going to end up... Because even if you get an Oscar, what does it matter? I don't even know the Oscar movies this year. Everything has just changed. So it's like we've been given a big favor. But I think if you can just bring it back to like, hey, I love this. I'm loving doing this doc, or I'm loving doing this scripted series, or I'm loving building my business, or I'm loving this time with my kids. And if you can just leave it at that, I'm writing Christmas movies right now for Hallmark and Lifetime. And you know what? Like, I'm having so much fun doing it. I don't know what's going to happen, but you know what? I'm like in the moment of the world. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is so fun. I hope something good comes out of it. But I'm enjoying the process. And I'm older than all you guys, but I've been through like all the other things of gotta get this, gotta hit this mark,
Yeah.
It's over. Yeah.
There's different seasons in life, right? Like there's your time to hustle, there's your time to like go after your dreams. But then there's the time to say, okay, release and contract. What was it?
Expand.
I think you always need to. No, but I think that's a great note. I think you always need to do that. And if you ignore that, you get sick. So no matter what, I think you have to contract and expand. And I think that, you do have to work hard on any lofty dream you have. So no one's saying not work hard. It's just, but if you can separate from the outcome and the attachment to the outcome, That's where I think the power comes. You just have to work. If we go make our 90-minute doc, we have to work hard. We only have a day to make it. We got to work hard to do it, and we're going to do our best. But we have to get over oh my God, it's got to be sold by, if it doesn't get bought by Netflix, then maybe Hulu, and if it doesn't get bought by Hulu, then no.
But the business is run. Capitalism is designed to keep us in feeling like we don't have enough, feeling like there's scarcity when there isn't, right? That's the purpose of how the whole system works, right? Which is why our social media networks, which were disguised to build community, are really just advertising networks.
Yes.
Right? We're just constantly being drilled and reminded that we need that thing. And the business is the same way. And business in general is the same way. Business. Health has become this way. Healing is becoming this. And we have to be so mindful of that. And for us, I think it just comes down to what do we love? What makes us happy? But also service.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's always important.
Because service, at the end of the day, is, I think, the reason to have job and job creation. Every business was designed, ideally, to solve a problem.
Yeah.
Right? To be of service. And I think when we can combine the material and the spiritual, we can all feel better no matter what we're doing about what we're doing, because we're not doing it just for ourselves. We're doing it for a greater purpose. And you can be of service in anything. In anything. You could have any job in the world. You could be a billionaire, or you could just be barely scraping by. And it's a mindset. It's how can I be of service to a person, to an organization, to the world? How can I be that example? And that's something that we're failing at all the time and striving for. But for us, at least in our marriage and in our life, it permeates everything that we're trying to do, which is okay, how do we be of service? Then the trick is to play in the game and not let it win. To play in the game and not let our decisions be rooted in fear, right? The fear of scarcity, this idea that I can't do that because I got more last time, or oh, that's not enough. Because true service you can't put a monetary value on it. Now, there needs to be an exchange of some sort, because that's the way that the system is set up. But it can't dictate the outcome, like you said. It can't be the thing, the driving force. I can't take a job just because of money. Just because of money. I might need money, but I have to justify it in some way. Otherwise, my entire life will be just simply about survival, or just simply, and I'll miss the joy, which is why some of the happiest people I've ever met have nothing, work multiple jobs, but it's not just about surviving. They're thriving in the survival mode. And so many people with money can't figure out how to thrive while we're surviving. So it comes down to again, what do those people have in common? A lot of them have communities. Family systems where they're there for each other. It's not just this individualistic me against the world mindset. And so that's something I know that we're working on all the time, which goes back to what's enough.
Yeah.
When do we stop? When do we pause? When can we just be? When can I not have my phone in my hand? When is that moment just for us? When is this just about my kids? When do I not pick up the phone and say, and you know what? I see my phone ringing, but I'm not going to answer it.
Right.
When is our time versus my time just about the hamster wheel, producing electricity for something that doesn't care if I exist or not?
If you don't do it, your body's going to do it for you.
Eventually.
You're going to get knocked out
with
an autoimmune disease, worse.
Yeah, my dad used to watch us. He thought we were nuts. My dad's a hard worker, and he was like, "Mom,
Greek immigrant, imagine.
how much is enough?"
You people got to slow down.
Yeah.
Wow.
But your body will tell you. If you don't listen to you guys, then your body was going to just go.
My body's been telling me. That's one of the things we talk about all the time.
Body talks all the time. Speaking of, that was such a great speech. My stomach was growling the entire time.
No,
I wonder if you guys got that.
I didn't hear anything.
The recording. It was
but I can't even.
Because it was disagreeing?
It was agreeing with you.
It was agreeing with me. It was
fasting tummy.
I can't even provide any solace and say, "Oh, we have food inside. We'll feed you."
Oh, good. No, I'm drinking my water. I'm good.
Well, you guys,
But yeah,
this has been. I'm choking on myself. This has been an amazing conversation. Let's see. There are things we have to mention.
I feel like we didn't even talk about the things that
That's always
you
how it
guys
goes.
were going to
We talked
have
about
some
all
stuff.
of it.
Well,
No, we talked about all of it.
Because you
I just
started
figured
saying
in
like you
gender-
might not like some
Well,
things.
I figured when we started talking about gender roles and all of that, maybe something or other would come up, or even when I mentioned, you know, certain things like you now understand when I would say I couldn't rest here. I figured things might come up that could get uncomfortable, only because when I listen to you guys, I'm like, oh, that might have hurt. Oh, that might have hurt. Whenever you talk about these things, there's always something.
I'm so wiped out right now because of being on this journey, like that you're talking about. I'm at the end of it right now. That part of it, my body's saying, "You're done, buddy. Like you either need to make some change, you know." And I think it was always, you know, what I say, just give me
a Diet Coke and a bagel, and
I'm good. I'll just push on, press on.
You can't do it anymore.
No,
Wow.
and I think that's made me so much even more empathetic to you in realizing, you know, and to people too. When you just know, so you're burnt.
And he understands the beauty behind simplifying, because I was so much more ahead of him in the journey when I came out of all this and started having my aha moments. I'm like, I want very little. Like, let's sell everything and live a simple life.
Yeah.
Please. All of it was so exhausting, and more is more, and just you know, I just felt like I could never just live and be at peace. And so even just the small steps we've been taking at simplifying, he's really enjoying, and now he wants to do more and more and more. You like to simplify certain things. I want to simplify the bigger things. You like simplifying like furniture and stuff.
I'm older.
Excess. But
I've
he's
been here longer.
Yeah. But he's on the
Here's the
journey.
thing with Justin, what you do and what you do, Emily, and what Maria does. You guys have to understand the gifts you have are very precious, and the opportunity you have is very precious. And I've just said again, maybe it's the system and everything we're talking about today, but I've seen many at the end of their lives, and at least in this business we're in here, who had those gifts and whatever, and the ones who took them for granted were the ones at the end who were very regretful. They regret afterwards. They thought, no, I don't need this crap anymore. I'm going to go do just whatever. I'm going to go and move to a small town somewhere and just live out the rest of my days. And then they realize, wait, what? Like, I'm not living my purpose. I'm not answering my callings. I'm not honoring my gifts. And so there's a fine line. And so that's why, you know, I've said, hey, pump the brakes. You don't have to you can have your studio at the house. You can be on all the gas pumps in America and all the movie theaters in America for whatever, 2 days worth of work a year. There's ways to stay in this, but do everything you're saying. But remember, you know, I've said this too. Your mom made it 5 years over 5 months. And if it wasn't for COVID, probably would still be with us. But that was because of the great means that you have through the work you've done. Not to mention, you have many, many gifts that you get to realize and enjoy every day. That I work with a lot of hosts in Hollywood and actors that I've mentored over the years, probably 2,000. And when I say, they literally will burst out into tears just saying, I just want a chance. And it's like, I know you think I'm crazy for crying. And I'll say, no, I would think you were crazy for not crying, because I know what it's like to have a dream and that dream doesn't get fulfilled. So for the people like you guys that's been fulfilled, it's like, okay, we don't drive ourselves to cancer. Don't abuse the partners we're with. Okay, but, you know, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater either. You know, you still have to be productive in your days to be happy. It's just not at the cost of others, not at the cost of yourself. I think we all need to be productive, except for very, very small. I have met those yogis and those people like you're talking about who we say, right, Frank, Big Frank and Uncle Arthur, these two people I always reference.
They don't know how to do work.
Didn't matter. The only ones who didn't need to work. They were just happy and not. But most of us got to stay busy and productive and serve and feel like we're
moving the ball forward.
Yeah. So that's why I'm always here like, just, you know, you guys all still have to do what
Thank you, man.
what you're here to do, because you got and gave you great gifts and opportunities and Just again, without hurting
Yeah,
yourself
sometimes
and
I
other
think
people.
we can get a little extreme.
Well, I was going to say, I think he's touching on extremes.
And he brings it like
Well,
I
that's
would've-
what I see in our
oh
business.
my God, I would have been in India.
Well, she's had advisors say, just get rid of it
I was
and
going
move.
places, guys.
Go
and
to
then
another country and
he just keeps me a little bit more on track.
And I said, okay, but you enjoy this. Okay, you can't have that anymore. You enjoy this. That's not going to happen anymore. You enjoy, okay, that's fine. And you're talking to the guy who's happy with a pickup truck and a recliner.
And mainly it was the ability, like the power that you have to be able to
affect
take
for
care of the
good.
people you want to take care of. And that's the biggest thing
How many
for
people
me.
you guys touching with your podcast? But it happens from what you guys built. And like, that, like you're able to reach with these great gifts, you're able to reach so many more people, because of the means and the blessings you have.
And there's a constant reminder that we need to go back to that place and say, wait a second, why are we doing what we're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think the reason the extremes happen is because of burnout. Because we're constantly exhaling or constantly inhaling. So the reason you'd go to India is because you never were exhaling. You were just inhaling.
Yes.
And then what
You're
happens?
not contracting.
And I have a middle grade book for boys coming out in December. And I remember specifically writing about our emotions. And this idea came to me, which was what happens when we just keep inhaling? Eventually, there's a big exhale.
Yeah.
It's not like a, it's,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Just,
moving to
I
India.
literally, when I inhale
Yep.
with my lungs, they crack, like almost like a beach ball has been deflated for a long time because I don't inhale.
Wow.
And,
Yeah, well,
now I'm at a
that's
point where I can't catch my breath. I'm doing some deep somatic work. I start this week. I cannot catch my breath. I can't yawn. It's a real struggle to yawn. She knows.
Although when I was praying for him last night and I put myself in this is probably very woo-woo, but like I was praying for him to get better and I put myself in his body and I expanded his lungs and breathed for him. I could hear him breathing on the bed and I go, oh shit, it's working.
You and Marie are
But I
going to be
wanna
best
hear-
friends.
but
You guys are going to be
that.
best friends.
That's
Justin,
not
tell me
weird
what you're going
at
to say because I
all.
feel like you're going to help me with something.
Well, I was just going to say,
beach ball analogy I gave you.
what I was going to say was that you have anxiety.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yes.
But as men,
Yeah, we talked about that actually. You're right.
we won't admit we have anxiety.
Right. No, and it doesn't feel like anxiety to me.
Anxiety, because it doesn't feel like it. Anxiety is
right.
for broken people, and we're not broken.
Right. No, I'm broken.
But that's the thing.
But
so
I don't feel
what
that,
you have.
But it's it must be a unique kind of anxiety because I'm not worried about
No.
money, I'm not worried
Anxiety
about-
is anxiety. It just manifests itself differently depending on the body and the person and the trauma.
Gotcha.
So my I didn't know I had anxiety my whole life. We were dating, and she'd be like, "Baby, breathe."
He wasn't breathing. He was
I would
holding
be-
his breath.
Why? You're amazing.
I
was
used to clench my hands.
I was wound so tight.
Yeah.
I'm so tight because I'm in this protective state.
Yeah.
That there would be a sound coming from my mouth because I wasn't exhaling.
Oh boy.
And I wouldn't even know it. And it was and no one had ever told me in my entire life. And she'd be like, "Hey, baby, breathe." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I am breathing." I wasn't breathing.
Yeah, he doesn't breathe.
And that is a symptom of anxiety. So because everybody holds it differently, especially as us men.
Right.
Like this, what happens if we go through life thinking we have to shoulder the burden everywhere we go?
Yeah.
How are we going to ever be able to exhale? No, we're taking everybody's stuff and we're making, because that's our identity
Yes.
in some way. So then you don't exhale, and then we have trouble breathing. And I remember sitting down in situations and being like, and I'd have to take a full breath. And
Yeah,
"Fuck,
that's
I
where
can't."
he's been.
Yeah, brother, that's anxiety. And then we'll talk about this afterwards because I can walk you through.
And
some
also,
stuff.
it may not be current stuff. Currently, life might be
Amazing.
great, perfect, but that could also be old
Yeah, I
stuff
think it
that
is
is
old
living
stuff
in your
too.
body as
Yes.
anxiety. And
It's old meets
lungs
new.
are really good at holding on to grief.
Yeah.
That's where grief lives.
Yeah, we've been
And-
going through a lot of grief
A lot
in
of
this
grief.
last year.
We lost our mom. It's like
Yeah.
our way of life.
Our
Yeah.
whole everything's
Even your dad.
changed. So many things have changed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a ton of grief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It lives in our bodies in all sorts of places. And I think the majority of the work, especially the individual work that each of us are doing, is looking at that. And I know specifically for me, I look very fit and healthy, but my body breaks down in the weirdest ways. And I've been trying to figure out why for 20 years. And it wasn't until this last year that I've actually started healing myself via meditation and therapy and all kinds of things, and realizing like, oh my God, all of the reasons I'm in pain and my body is breaking down is trauma. It's anxiety.
Yeah.
It's never had a release because I was never man enough to admit that I was perhaps broken and had issues I had to deal with. I like tucked, like I was manned up and, didn't allow myself the chance to feel all the things that I needed to feel. And then we become like stone.
Yeah.
Instead of like, limber palm trees that in a storm can like bend and move. You become like stone. So the second something happens, we break. And so now it's just all about like moving my body and like releasing feelings and emotions. And it might look and sound crazy, but it's incredible.
Doesn't sound crazy at all to me.
And I have I have a bunch of resources, for you, and we can talk about this afterwards. But that is what is at the core of that. We connected, Maria and I, the first time because you were one of the first people that really saw what I was trying to do in Hollywood, which nobody really cared about, which was helping us remember how amazing life is by telling the stories of people who were dying of a terminal illness. And that's how we kind of bonded. And then, of course, you recently lost your mom, and we were on the podcast together. But what I can tell you is, as a result of 10 years of that show, is I have a ton of grief. I lost so many people. And I thought that I was fine. I thought that I was built to go into somebody's life, become close to them, and then be okay with them dying. And I wasn't. I was like, oh, God designed me in this way. I'm kind of like a death doula or something. Yeah. But 10 years later, I have all this pain and grief trapped in me from all these people that I loved, who I had to say goodbye to, who didn't get a chance. I have survivor's guilt and all these crazy things that happen. And it's all in my body, let alone all the trauma that I had in my life. And I had no idea how to get it out. So, of course, I'm not breathing. There's a part of me that's afraid to breathe.
Yeah, you might feel it.
You might feel it, because why? Breath is so connected to our emotions. Yeah. And then as soon as I started breathing, I started feeling. And shit, there's a lot of stuff to feel, man.
Yeah.
And that's why we're doing this work. That's what I want so many men to know. It's like we don't have to be afraid of that stuff anymore. It doesn't make us weak. It makes us powerful. It makes us human. Yeah. Makes us far better husbands for those of us who are straight, for our wives. And if we're not two men together, even better. You both need to work on that shit.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I've had to tell him to breathe. That's why I like him going on walks with me. I said, it's not about the walk. It's about the breathing you get when you walk. Yeah. Because it moves stuff, and it's so enriching for your mind, body, and soul.
I found myself so weak that I've lifted weights for 20 years, and this is the first time, like, it's been 6 months I haven't. Yeah. I don't have the strength to go in the gym.
Well, I told him, I said, this is like God grounding you and saying, you just Diet Coke and bagel it up, and this is it. Like, this is your invitation for that next level of transformation, and I'm not taking no for an answer.
Right.
That was
man, I'm so happy that we're meeting right now, because
really exciting.
Because you've just been going to the wrong gym.
Yeah.
Oh, what a cry. That's really sweet.
I got a membership to this other gym. I'm going to tell you all about it.
Oh my God. I'm so excited to come stay in your yurt, guys, or whatever it's called, your dome, your whatever. What's next for the Man Enough podcast? Anything we should know?
We just finished recording our season, our first season. And I think I don't know when this is coming out, but I think we have a few more episodes that are going to get released. And then we're going to do a second season, and and I have my what is it called, the paperback version of my book coming out.
Of Man Enough.
We took my face off the cover so more men would read it.
Stop it.
Yep. I was tired of men DMing me saying that they read my book even though they were embarrassed to, and I'm like, okay, let's make this a little more accessible. Yeah. And I have a middle grade version of Man Enough coming out in October on our son's birthday. Exciting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, I will say this: there is zero chance that any of this would be happening, any of the work that I'm doing, if it were not for my wife. Zero chance, because there's no chance I would never be this introspective. Ever, because I'm literally there's a mirror next to me all the time, even doing the work. I even put it at the end of my book. Emily read my book the first time. And she said, baby, this is really good, but I think you need to read your own book.
Oh, wow.
And I put it in the final chapter after she read it, because that is our life. And I am, I'm so damn grateful.
Mm.
So if it all goes away, we're happy and we won
Right.
because we're doing that.
Mm.
It's beautiful.
So true.
I won too, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we say the same thing too.
Yeah.
We always said, but we said this for decades. It was like, hey, we have each other, so screw it. Who cares?
I always used to say, I'm like, honey, when
End of
he
the
would
day-
get sad or upset about something, I'm like, I don't care. We could end up somewhere and have a pizza place. And as long as I'm with you, I'm
and
good.
and we still may. Because I love
We're going to be
pizza.
best friends.
I know.
I thought you guys were going to be best friends, but you and I are going to be best friends.
Already, like, I have such a deep connection to you. I feel like we've been friends for years because I instantly felt that. And yes, I then listened to Emily and I was like, oh my God, she's my person. So yes, we are going to be best friends.
I always say,
We'll all start the pizza
in
place
fact,
together.
I'll take it a step further. I've said even recently, maybe I should just stop and open a restaurant. Because I like food. I love cooking
We
for people.
love food.
Yeah.
Food makes me so happy. But as much as
Great hangout, just amazing.
Guys,
much
when
as
I
I
eat
love-
food, I moan.
It's the
And
best.
I have standards. It has to be amazing. Every meal he laughs at me. I'm a sicko. He's like, you have to pitch a perfect game. I'm like, it has to be. That's how important it is.
and I almost love making it more than I love eating it.
Which is great because I don't love making
So
it.
I
love
cook.
eating
Yeah.
it.
So I cook for her. She's
go
like,
well together.
But like, so I've literally said, I think in the last 2 weeks, I'm like, I wonder if we'd be happier just forgetting about all this and opening a restaurant.
I know,
Yeah?
but there our freedom is gone.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
problem.
But all
You
to say,
gotta
I'm
be
with
there
you.
all the
That's
time.
also
totally-
hard work.
But it's true.
Guys,
If that's
guys,
what we had to do,
Guys, keep it simple. Pizza place or coffee shop or just
we were going to do pizza and coffee.
no. You're not going to do both. Stop it.
I just got a pizza
They gotta
oven
think
and I'm
we're-
going to
yeah.
be going to town.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We love making pizza.
Easy. Then you know what? You can just
We make fried dough all the time.
You have a nice
too.
hangout.
We love fried dough. Have you ever had fried dough?
Yes.
Like East Coast fried dough?
yes.
No.
We'll make it for you. You will die.
Yeah.
We are the hit at every
Yes.
party with our 99-cent dough bag. And we come in with some butter and honey and cinnamon and powdered sugar. And we make it and everyone thinks that we're like, magicians. It's crazy. It's so good.
It's just dough. It's basically a donut.
Probably not gluten free though.
Way better than a donut.
we can make a
Definitely
gluten free
not.
one.
You can make gluten free.
Yeah, we do a gluten free dough.
Yeah.
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 Wow. So.
Oh man. But yeah, I always said that to him. I was like, honey, we're fine. Like we'll have a pizza place and freaking whatever. It's fine.
Oh,
so it's all good. It always work out. And he'll always make something amazing, whatever it is, whatever house, whatever house we've lived in, he's always fixed it, made it amazing. So it doesn't matter if it's a 1-bedroom, a 10 bed, we're going to be fine no matter what.
Well, I say that to you all the time. Like, no matter where we go, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We'll
we move in
we
next
will-
door to the
I
Baldonis.
wish.
Listen, I'm
making that
telling
amazing.
you, we're going to make that happen.
10 acres.
We're coming this weekend. I swear to God.
Done. Come.
You guys already,
Please.
it's over. Don't make any other plans.
Bring that dough with all that butter.
Oh man. All right, you guys. Emily, tell me about what's next for Emma.
Oh, what?
Amma.
Yes,
Sorry.
Amma. What is next? We are growing rapidly and expanding. So we are, like the brain shift.
Yeah, exactly.
What is happening?
From fried dough
From fried dough to
coming over this
to
weekend
business.
to Amma.
We continue to find ways to support mama as best we can through products and content, and that's the path that we're
Nice.
I love it.
That's what we're doing, and we're, as I said, growing and expanding really quickly. So we're just learning how to build a business and bring more people in and make it thrive so that we can continue to support mamas.
They blew up this last year. It was
We
incredible
did.
to see.
Which is fun, and also just like, how do you grow so fast? And
With,
I'm not
with one product.
I know. Wasn't it
With-
based on your
yeah.
mom's
Yeah, my mom had a
Yes.
design.
cocoon?
Yes, my
Right?
mom. My
She
mom
made
had
it in
something
1984.
called the bib,
the bib.
which she designed for breastfeeding me
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
in '84, and
She wanted something beautiful that she could wear at meetings and restaurants and still breastfeed and still have, feel gorgeous. And so she made that when she was breastfeeding Justin.
And she gave it to
so it's like
Emily.
almost like a wrap that's like
It's a wrap.
chic and
It's
beautiful and
like a poncho.
Yeah.
And she gave me one when I had Maya, our first kid. And there was nothing else like it out there. I didn't want to wear baby pandas and baby giraffes on some weird blanket. Like that's not me. I wanted to still feel beautiful and feel sexy and
you're covered up too, so you
gorgeous
like can
and
be in
still
public
covered
and
up
feel.
for the moments that I
Yeah.
wanted to cover up. I was
Yeah.
like, there's nothing that actually
And this one
works
had
that
like
is
shoulder
functional and
pads.
beautiful.
It was like from
Hers
the 80s.
had
It was like
shoulder
legit
pads.
from the 80s. Like
We
had
took those
shoulder
out.
pads, took them out. But all the women were coming up to Emily.
Where'd you get that?
Where did you get that? Where did you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're
That's
like, I
great.
think we have to start.
We
a
have
company.
something. And then
So
we brought on Satya, my business partner and co-founder, and she's a great designer. So she kind of
Perfect.
redesigned it for the modern mama. And now we have something that mamas love and want. And because we now have that community, we can create content and talk about all aspects of motherhood.
smart.
Those who want to be, those who were, and like all the different stages of motherhood, and create that support that many of us feel like we don't have.
They're designing more
There's
stuff
sweet
now. It's really
opportunity.
cool.
Yeah, there's a lot more product on there. I saw
Yes,
like the
more
product's
is
beautiful,
coming.
but the site is beautiful too. We'll link
thank
to
you.
it actually in the summary of this so that anybody who's listening can
Thank you.
take a look. So
Thank you.
It's good to hang out, guys. Thanks for
So
having us.
sweet.
nice to hang out with you guys.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
see you in a couple.
All right, so we lost Keven.
We lost Kevin.
Keven is on his recliner, I'm sure. Which, by the way, we are adding an affiliate link, I think, to this
Yes,
on
we
our website. So
are.
Keven found the coolest recliner, everybody, Heel Squad. It's like $150. It's a teeny little recliner, so good for a small space. If you need a little recliner for your meditations or just anything in life, because life is better on a recliner, we are putting the affiliate link to it because Keven is a really heavy-duty researcher. He finds the finds, and this one is definitely one. It's a great gift for a friend in life. We're about to gift a friend one. So anyhow,
Anyhow, that's where
he
Kevin
probably is
now.
right now.
Yeah.
A lot of exhaustion comes with when you have to start thinking about all this stuff you got to work on.
Truly.
Because I know through some of this, I was like, oh my God, I'm cooked. This is a lot. I said it a few
Oh
times.
my gosh. And even me in here, I'm like, there's a lot. There's
Yeah.
a lot.
So don't get overwhelmed, Till Squad. We don't have to figure it all out right now. We don't have to be perfect at all of it all right now. And also, Keven had a really good point that I wish he had brought up earlier. But, there's so much talk about the patriarchy. And it sounds a little bit like there's this conspiracy, right? To like hold us down. And I don't know if that's necessarily what's happening here. And Keven just gave me another perspective and I really liked it. He said, Maria, he goes, the old days, he's like, the men went to work, the women stayed at home, the men provided, like there were different kinds of roles. And then, women's rights came forward and we wanted to do things and we wanted to build our own thing and we wanted to be equal. He's like, and so I don't think it was this big conspiracy to hold women down. It just was the way it was. And now it's different. The key is that we have not adjusted and grown and changed to accommodate the fact that now women are equals, let's say, or hopefully we're going to become more equal because we're not officially equal in terms of pay and in terms of certain things. We are, of course, far superior. But anyway, I think that what hasn't happened is now that women are in the workplace and we're running, companies and we're doing all these things, there's no support for us and nothing's been taken off our plate. So there's no, you're just assumed to do everything, right? Because
Have the kid and then go back to work.
I think at first we had to kind of do that to be like, I'll still handle everything, right? Like how many times have I been in a job where I'm like, no, I'll do all of this, but there's this other opportunity. Don't worry, I'm going to get it all done. I'm going to do it all.
Right.
And so I think that's probably, and listen, this is
You're
me
scared
just
to lose it.
This is just me saying this off the top of my head. Please don't, I haven't had time to like go do all the research, but the truth is I feel like, we probably were like in the throes of trying to figure out how to be business women and career women while taking care of the kids. And then everybody just assumed, because then we became the overachieving, I can do it all women. And, I'm type A and I'm super multitasker. Remember, multitasking came up. And now we were kind of oh, now we're trying to make this a normal thing that we have to be superwoman. And now we're realizing, no, if I'm going to be out working, and now most families do rely on 2 incomes, then something has to give. Someone's got to help. You, hubby, have to take half responsibility. Maybe you're in charge of scheduling all the doctor's appointments and I'm the one who's taking them to the doctor. Or maybe you're handling the vacations and I'm handling them at school. Like, we got to split up the duties, but that hasn't happened yet. And so the woman, like an Emily, is at home, having to be the woman behind the man, having to do all of this, sacrificing. And it's just like nothing has changed. So I think it's less like this big bad wolf. And I don't know, you guys are the younger generation that's really talking patriarchy. Tell me if I'm missing something, because I'm happy if I've missed something to, you know, to have that conversation and to be open to something that I didn't think of. Because just like Kevin's like, Maria, I don't think it went like that. I think it just has, you know, everything has evolved and then that hasn't.
You know, it's interesting. And I'm interested to hear Pooja's take too, because I kind of agree. I mean, I like having the conversation. I just think it's still so crazy to me how unequal women still are. Like, but I don't think it's because there's one massive thing like holding you down. But I do think it's an accumulation of a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And I think it's an accumulation of a lot of time. And it's still even, I mean, going back to the episode that Emily was on Justin's podcast, Liz Plank, who's one of his co-hosts, was talking about the whole idea of nature versus nurture. Girls are still given dolls. Boys are given, I don't know, trucks and this and that. And they're like, oh, boys will be boys. Go play in the dirt. Go do this. Go do that. So it's still crazy that in like 2022, that's still a thing. And that girls are brought up that way. So I think it's I don't know, it's hard. It's like societal norms, less than the patriarchy, but I don't know. It's like, I don't really know. And I'm like you, Maria, where it's like, I would need to do more research to like fully give my like 100% opinion, but I'm curious. Pooj is very much in this. She gets fired up about this kind of stuff.
Oh,
so
here
I'm
we
curious.
go.
I don't know if it's like a subconscious thing where it's like we want to keep the power and hold the power, so how can we do that? Or if it was just like that's the way it was back then. Like they went and did the jobs. They were the breadwinners and the women were the one at home, and it was just a result of that. It could be a combination. You know, it could be a combination of both.
Well, I don't think that back in the day men were like, let's hold women down. I think there were just roles that just were. We give birth. We carry babies. So they would, you know, take care of us and protect and do the things that men were supposed to do.
Well, the roles just kind of formed.
Yeah. Roles formed. I think that now in this time, I think that men can look down on us and say, oh gosh, she's going to get pregnant. She's useless. And they won't give us a job or whatever. They have their set of beliefs that guide them that are definitely not in our favor at times, right?
Yeah.
But do you think if there was like a woman who wanted to do something back then that they would be accepting and okay? Probably
no,
not.
because back then that wasn't how it went. That's why we had to have this whole women's, you know,
but I think
women's
like
lib and
yeah. But I mean that in a way is oppressing them, no? Because they weren't allowed to do that stuff. We had to have a whole movement in order to even get any sort of equal treatment or be viewed in any equal way.
Yeah.
Why would there have to be like this whole revolution for us to be able to do what we want?
Yeah. I mean, and that's where patriarchy, I think, comes from, right? It's like the set of kind of norms and rules that are just kind of pre-existing us, right? But, you know, I don't know if there were cave women. Again, I have to do the research, but I feel like
I think there were.
There were like hunters and men were the hunters and the gatherers, right? And so I think of like eventually as we started to realize we, you know, wanted more, then we had to kind of push those boundaries. And yes, obviously we had to fight for our rights and fight for our kind of our place in this world outside of just what they originally thought it was or wanted it to be.
Well, and shout out Dr. Shafali. If you guys haven't listened to those episodes we had with her, her whole thing is, you know, the who said, and it's her book is the woman's like kind of radical awakening, like how we now finally are being like, yeah, I'm sorry, who said we're not allowed to do this? Who said X, Y, and Z? So I think a lot of it is, you know, they're learned things and generational crap that we've carried in. And
I think that's what people say when they're like, we're fighting the patriarchy. It's like all those societal norms that have been ingrained in us and society for years and years and years.
Right.
Like that's when people are like, that's what I'm fighting the patriarchy. Like you said, like boys will be boys. Like if they hit you, they like you, or they're mean to you, they like you. It's like that's such a such a BS excuse. It's like no, like that's just not a. It's not just boys will be boys. Like that's such an old-fashioned way of thinking. But I think it's those it's like those values and like those ideas that have ingrained in society that allow men to get away with stuff that shouldn't be something that comes down to boys will be boys. I think that's when people are like, we're fighting the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be continued.
TBD. We'll do some more research and get back.
Well, we're all learning, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I say we're open to everyone's thoughts and ideas. And, we kind of just keep learning and growing. I think the worst thing you can do is just come out and be like pretending like you know everything. And so many people do that all day long and they've never done any of the research. So I'm like, I haven't done the research. I don't know. Here's what I'm thinking. This sounds like it makes sense to me. But it's not like I'm going out staking my claim and telling everybody, I know what's going on here.
Right.
Well, we learn through these conversations.
We do.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm thinking too? I really want Emily to come do a Patreon Heal event with our gals, with her company. And I'm sure she could speak a lot to this as well. So anywho, guys and gals, but that's that $10 a month tier. You get special access to a healer a month or a person a month who you wouldn't necessarily have access to. So that's what I'm working on. Would love to do one with her.
I like that idea.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you want to join Patreon, you can do that by going to mariamenounos.com and click on our Better Together page, or you can go to Better Together with Maria's on Instagram and click the link tree and you can find us there very easily. In the meantime, friends, thanks for being with us. Be nice people, make good choices, and be present.